I want to ask if you had any like special guests, but before I do, I want to ask you about one guest in particular besides Andy. Can you
Sure.
tell us a little bit about your recent episode with a teenager named Grace?
Grace Price. Wow. This was another one. I get the notification in my email. We're having this guest on named Grace Price. And my typical procedure is okay, I look at it. Sometimes there's contact information, sometimes there's not. I just start researching. And it turns out that this girl's got a Twitter account. So I go to her Twitter profile, and there's a link on her profile to this documentary that she's apparently making. And I look at it and it's like, okay, I mean, it seems interesting, but the deeper I go, I find out she's a high school student. And literally, I'm thinking to myself, Phil, what are you thinking? What are we doing? Have a high school student on this show? We have, we had Dr. Tom Seyfried, who's at the cutting edge of cancer research on the show. We've had Dr. Chris Palmer, who is at the cutting edge of mental health research on this show. We have had the best in the world at whatever they're doing, making dramatic differences in how we recover from disease and get healthy. Why do we have a high school student on? I don't get it. And she is a high school student, so there wasn't a lot of information on her. I'm like, okay, well, hang on, let's see what happens. Well, it turns out this girl goes to an interesting, a unique high school where they don't have teachers. They have adult like mentors who guide them. They spend 2 hours a day in their core subjects, and then the rest of the day they are encouraged and empowered to pursue a passion project. And they tell them, make this an Olympic level passion project. We don't want your passion project to be, I want to find a better way to trim my eyebrows. It needs to be big. And she decided on preventing cancer and started doing the research and has the guides, the mentors to help her learn how to read research papers. And so she's done that. And long story short, she didn't say anything that I didn't hear from any of our other guests. What made it extraordinary was that it was coming out of the mouth of an 18-year-old who is concerned about her generation, her friends. And she talked about the way they eat and how the messaging that they are bombarded with about this kind of eating, the utter and complete lack of any kind of information countering the narrative about health. Um, and she's wanting to get the message out to her peers. And part of what excited me about this is when you're 18, 19, 20, you are um, just by disposition inclined to rebel against whatever the previous generation has told you to do. And by and large, what the generation prior to hers has told her to do is going to kill them young and painfully. And they're rebelling, thank God. And she's getting the message out to her peers. She's got the support of the adults in her life and the educational system. I don't even know if it's a system. It's just, you know, for all I know, it's probably something Elon Musk put together. She's in Austin. And I remember as that show wound up, I can remember thinking, I have never been so encouraged and so filled with hope for the future as I am listening to this 18-year-old say the same things that all these medical researchers and specialists and genius and doctors and even the what do they call it, the citizen scientists, um, who do brilliant work, but to have a high school student get it and understand it and be able to understand the lingo and the language and be able to, in fact, Dr. Thomas Seyfried actually allowed her to come and interview him in person at his lab in Massachusetts. Um, um, I was impressed by that. So I would say out of 130 episodes, and we've had some fantastic ones, Grace Price was my favorite for that reason,
Ah,
not because of any new information that she gave, but just the overwhelming wave of optimism for the future that I felt. The these young adults are rebelling against what their parents' generation handed them, just like I did. Only what their parents' generation handed them is infinitely more idiotic and screwed up than what my parents' generation handed me. And they're saying no. And they're not trying to make it more screwed up. They're trying to make it better. I mean, they really are. I could rant about this, but I was ecstatic. It was so
yeah.
cool.
I could tell, like, when you were thanking her and expressing your gratitude and also saying how hopeful you were, that came across as extremely genuine. And I felt the same thing listening to that. It was going to be my next question to ask, like, favorite episodes. Is there any other like standout episodes besides mine, of course?
Well, the ones I always refer people to, um, Thomas Seyfried, who's got an entirely different model for what cancer is and how it works. And, you know, spoiler alert, it tests out. uh, Dr. Chris Palmer, um, who's who's treating and helping people recover from brain dysfunction that was previously considered untreatable and unrecoverable from. I'm not sure what the how you say that. You can't recover from it. Um, I regularly refer people to those.